What we've done, we've designed it to be easily specified, easily installed, and last but not least, a great value proposition for your power data. It all starts with a kit of parts. There are really only 5 components to the hat rack itself. The first is what we call a post. Every post comes with a foot. This happens to be an end post. As you can see, it's finished on 3 sides, open on one side for power and data. The next post, which is typically used on your interior, are what are called 180 posts. These posts allow power and data to run from beam to beam. We also have L posts for 3-way configurations and 120s for 120-degree planning. The next component is the beam itself. The beam itself, as you can see, it's 6 inches tall, 3 inches wide, and this comes 36, 48, 60, and 72 inches wide, the same width as your typical height adjustable tables or static tables. The next component is what we call the power track. For every 36-inch beam, you get a 36-inch power track. 48-inch beam, 48-inch power track, so on and so forth. These power tracks are double-sided, allowing you to run duplexes on both sides to access power on each side of the beam. If you don't need power on each side of the beam, we simply have cover plates to cover up the duplex openings. Of course, last but not least are the duplexes. And I've got a variety of duplexes to choose from. The power itself is an 8-wire 4-circuit system. And what that means is you get 3 hots that show neutral on the ground, and you have another hot that's got its own neutral on the ground. That's what we call a dedicated circuit. So you have 4 circuits, and each duplex is marked. Circuit 1, Circuit 2, Circuit 3, and Circuit 4, so you can distribute your power. Now, in California, we have what's called Title 24. And what Title 24 is, it requires that each user has a programmable duplex, meaning you could shut this duplex off at the main switch at a certain time of the day, whatever the case may be. We have the Title 24s in stock in Circuit 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we have all your circuits covered. And then lastly is what we call the jumper. The jumper, very simply, every time you order a 180 post, you get a jumper, which more or less gets your power from one beam to the next. So it comes by default when you order a 180 post, so you don't have to think about it. And let's not forget this little red package of screws. They're essential for the installation of the hat rack. Do not throw them away. All the screws and Allen wrenches are in this bag that attach the feet to the post, the beam to the post, and so on. Very critical component in the installation. The first thing of installation, I typically take the beam out of the box. I then take my power track. As you can see, this is a BRYNE electric 8-wire power track, and you have these little brackets on top. These simply snap into the brackets provided in the hat rack itself, and they slide right on down, and they click when you're in. You now have your power track installed in your beam. Next, let's install the duplexes into the power track. And you very simply drop them into the power track, slide them till they click, drop them in, slide them till they click. Duplexes, power track, beam. Now we need to install the beam to the actual feet, with post with the feet. The first thing I like to do is I'll start with the 180, and we very simply drop it in, lock it in, and now we'll install the end post. In. So now what I have is a beam assembly. I have beam, power track, duplexes, I have my end post and my 180 post. What I would suggest you do from here is install all the rest of your components, your beam and your feet, and then we'll hook them all together. This is what's called a screen mount bracket. Every time you buy a screen, you get 2 of these brackets. These brackets are mounted on top of the beam itself. We have preset dimples for the screws, so there's no guessing on where these mounts go. They simply tap right into the top of the beam itself. The cover plate very simply snaps on to the beam to give you the finished look. We've assembled the beam to the post via what I called the knuckle lock or the biscuit. We need to lock it into place for safety purposes. We provide you in this bag of screws a set screw that attaches the beam to the post, one on each side. And the last thing we need to do before we put the faceplate onto the beam itself is we need to insert our jumpers, which brings the power from one beam to the next. You very simply slide it through the 180 post and lock it together. Electrical plugs into the duplexes, low voltage plugs into your power data modules. In closing, what I've shared with you today is the design intent behind the hat rack. A product that's easy to specify, a product that's easy to install, and a product that is a value proposition, very affordable. The product, as I said, is available in the San Jose warehouse in 3 colors, silver, black, and white, and 4 different widths, 36, 48, 60, and 72.